Hello, RailCats fans, and welcome back to another edition of the RailCats Talk podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Savedich, and the RailCats have finally done it. They have finally got a win in 2024 with an offensive explosion that came out of left field, which I think ideally bringing this all together is probably what Lamar Rodgers was looking for in the first place when you were thinking of this team being put together, right? You were expecting the offensive numbers. Now, granted, is this sustainable? Nine nine runs in 11 hits. No, I don't think the aspect of the runs are sustainable always. The hits can be, not so much the runs, because not all the time are you going to be able to convert on runs. But in this instance, I think the long ball was in effect today. As we saw, I believe it was three total home runs, four total home runs. Yeah, four total home runs in the game. Two by the Milkmen and two by the RailCats. So like that's what we've the power aspect of is what we were looking for, and really the power aspect of it is not really. I guess maybe Gonzalez is maybe one of those ones that you kind of expect it from, but not so much Sierra, and he did show it there. And so like the power numbers aren't necessarily coming from the people that you're kind of expecting, as far as the Castillos or the Quintanas. Your Contreras. Now, well, I should take that back. Contreras really didn't play. Your Backley's, your Basabi. So like that was a big new one, or a new one in the aspect of this. So let's go ahead and kind of get into the game itself here. And if you're just joining, I this is kind of a sprung on moment of, oh hey, I'm gonna try this. I'm gonna try doing a live stream just because I think this will help in the aspect of making a post game show that's not going to take me an extra 2 hours to work on, because you go from making the video, editing it, waiting for it to download, and then waiting for it to upload, and then just trying to give it to its different avenues. So I think what I'll try and do is make special ones, so that way if it's 30 minutes, it's 30 minutes is already in a list, and you guys can watch it from there. So it should make things a little bit easier on the end of trying to get things out there, because with me going back to my work schedule, I really don't want to be up until midnight making these. So if I make it 30 minutes, a live stream, call it a day, and then people that don't get to watch live stream will get to rewatch it in its respective area. So I may do some adjusting on that. I don't know. It's first trial and error, that kind of aspect of it. So let's go ahead and get into. I'm just gonna go over the scoring. How should I say it? The scoring innings, not so much the overall game itself. And then we'll get into kind of talking about the overall game itself. But looking at the scoring opens up in the top of the first with the Milkmen with a solo home run from Davis, and that was basically it for, well, not basically it for Milwaukee, but then the offensive explosion that happens for the RailCats. 7 runs in the first inning was our second inning. Where did this come from? I feel like it was building, but it wasn't. Nothing was succeeding. Like, you were starting to see the hits from players. Gio Diaz was starting to heat up. I know LG Castillo didn't get a hit in today's game, but Marcos Gonzalez was heating up. Sierra was getting, everyone was getting hits. There was getting hits there. I think we had 8 hits the last game. So the hits were coming. It was just a matter of if the run production was going to be there, and today we got it. So when we look at what happened, we start off with Rincon, who gets a single. Then Castillo strikes out. Valero walks. Backley walks. Then Gonzalez gets a 2-run single. I know it was marked as an error, but then it wasn't an error. It was a base hit. It ended up being a base hit. I want to double check that to make sure that's what they classified it as. Yeah, they classified it as a base hit. That's the hard part with the artificial turf, is something I may get into after this, is the ball plays so much different, so it's kind of hard to judge what is actually a routine ball and what's not. So that's what really sparked this. It was the walks. It was probably going to be a double play over with, but it's artificial turf. The ball bounced. I got the second baseman almost like in the armpit area, and there was nothing else that you could do on that aspect of it. So going from that, then that brought in Rincon, and that brought in Valera. And then Sierra hits a 3-run bomb that brings in Bockley, Gonzalez, and Sierra himself. That was something that I wasn't necessarily expecting, and I was just like, oh, I had point streak up. I was just writing some couple things down, and there we go. Here we go, and we're on our merry way. It starts rolling. Gio Diaz gets a single, and then Basabe drives him in with a double, and then Quintana pops out, and then Rincon gets another RBI single, which brings in Basabe, and then Castillo strikes out to end the inning. So that was it for the Railcats until the fourth, or actually, my bad, the third. I misplayed that when Gonzalez actually got a solo home run. So in that inning, I guess we'll go through that inning. Valera grounds out, or Valera gets on with a single, and then Bockley grounds in a double play, 4-6-3 double play. Gonzalez hits a home run, and then Sierra grounds out to third. That's the production that you kind of want from the bottom of the lineup, and that's something that I don't think the Railcats were necessarily getting from that portion that you were. I mean, if your bottom half is going to be producing, even your top half produce, just not in the way that you would necessarily expect. I mean, Rincon as the cleanup role gets 2 RBIs. He was 3 for 3 with 2 RBIs going into the fourth inning, which is something you may not necessarily get from a lead or from a cleanup hitter, because the cleanup hitter, you want to be a home run guy, but if that's what you're going to get, I'll take that any day. I mean, you want your 4-hole hitter to be a hitter, and he did that to the best of his ability in today's game. So that was it in the third for the Railcats, but then the Milkmen answered with a sac fly from E-Step that scored Pruitt. I'm not really going to get into too much detail on their. It's Milwaukee. We don't care, right? I'm not going to get too into depth of that one. Then in the fourth inning, it starts off with Gio getting a single, Basabe striking out, Quintana getting a single, and then Rincon driving in Gio with a single, and then Castillo flies out and Valera flies out. That would be the rest of the scoring from the Railcats. From the fourth inning on, it was just up to the pitchers and the defense to hold things down. And they sort of did to a certain extent. In the fifth inning, Milwaukee tacks on 1 after a Smith double that brings in Marrero, and then a 2-run home run from Otzberg that brought in Davis. That would be it from the scoring from the aspect of Milwaukee. Now, looking into the pitching side of things, Carlos Sanabria was the starting pitcher of record. He didn't go far enough. He didn't go the 5 innings to get the win, which that was a whole controversy and a half of itself. Because I didn't know this was a rule change necessarily. I thought it was if you had the pitching coach go out and the manager go out, or the manager goes out twice, you have to change the pitcher. But I didn't realize that a mound visit from the catcher counts as a mountain visit. So that's why Sanabria didn't go go full 5, is because Quintana went out there to talk to him, I think in the third inning. I believe it was when things started kind of relapsing a little bit after, I think it was the sac fly, whatever, a couple things after that. He talked to him, and then Lamar Rogers went out there, just kind of talked to him, get it all under control, and Lamar Rogers walks off, and the first base umpire was like, nope, you got to change him. So that brought in Daniel Vitriago. who pitched 1 2/3 inning, giving up 2 hits and 2 strikeouts. He is the winning pitcher of record. This is kind of gets into the aspect of what I fully don't understand. I get that we're early on in the season, and Vitriago did pitch previous in the previous inning, or previous game, and probably trying to keep the pitch count down. But Vitriago was doing really well, and to bring him out and bring in, I know Anders Diaz was pitching really well at the point that he got brought in. I just, you have the 2 outs, are I think it was it was in the 7th inning. I think it might have been the 7th inning when he gets stepped out, and then Davis, who I believe is a right-handed batter. Like, I get the aspect of Davis being a right-handed batter, and then you bring in Diaz, who's also a right-handed, but then Davis gets the double, and then Osberg hits the 2-run home run. I guess the confusion that I have is, like, if someone's pitching really well and he already got 1 out and there's no one on base, just kind of let him finish the inning. Maybe even if he gets to 2 outs necessarily, I just feel like sometimes when a pitcher's in a rhythm, and sometimes you break that rhythm and you bring someone in newer that didn't have a full time to really get going. Sometimes I have an issue. It looks like Lamar Rogers does that a lot. I get you're early on in the season and you're trying to keep the pitch counts down. Like, I understand that at this point the game was at the point the game was 9-3. So, like, you had some room to work with, but I feel like finishing it out for Vitriago, if he would have given up a hit or a walk there, like, completely understand. But Vitriago he was pitching really well at that point. But then that brings in Anders Diaz, who went 2 3 innings, 2 1/3 inning, gave up 2 hits, 2 runs, and 1 strikeout. The 2 hits came on a Davis double, and then Osberg hit the 2-run home run. And then Pinto came in to the 8th, gave up 1 hit, and then Yohan Valdez does what Yohan Valdez does, and he shuts down the game, giving up 1 walk and 1 strikeout. That basically wraps. I mean, there was a lot of pitchers being used. I don't think necessarily that Lamar Rogers wanted to use that many pitchers in today's game. Really, they used more pitchers than Milwaukee did, and that's kind of a shock to a certain extent. I would have liked to see, Vitriago getting the full 2 innings, maybe Pinto getting a full 2 innings, and then Valdez coming in and shutting it down. But nor here nor there. We're playing the long game, I guess. We get the win. That's all that really necessarily matters at this point. There are a couple of things. Jackson Valera gets ejected at the end of the game after a pitch clock violation. He was in the box, wasn't necessarily paying attention. I'm not 100% positive. The umpiring crew didn't necessarily seem the best. The strike zone kind of seemed inconsistent. Really, the last pitch of the game, like, I thought it was a ball. I thought the ball hit him. And it was like, all right, well, let's bring up who would have been Santos and see what he can do. But the ball was inside, I guess, and strike 3, you're out, and game's over with. I know I really there was a couple of bloopers that ended up. The one to really note was the one with Gio Diaz and LG Castillo in left field. I'm not sure what inning it was. I know the wind was kind of whipping out, and it was like whipping to the left or right to left. And at that point, if you're the left fielder and you're running to grab the ball, and the ball starts going to your right and you're running to your left, and your out for your center fielder is coming in the direction of the ball that's coming, away from him, it's going to probably be easier for him to keep tracking that ball and you peel off and let him have it. Obviously, center fielder has the outfield. He is the shortstop of the outfield. He has control of the entire outfield, and if he wants it, he can have it. I just know that when the wind is whipping and it's hard to judge the ball, it can be really tricky out there, and especially if it gets hit in the lights, whatever the case may be, you may end up losing it. I know that was one of them. There was another one that was hit to right, and Rincon just kind of looked like he kind of just like slowly jogged in and was like, it falls down, like whatever. Like there was some points where I'm just like, what's going on? But then Rincon made some really nice catch. I believe it was in the 8th inning, to rob Morrow of an RBI. Probably would have been a triple at that point. Nice play over that way. LG Castillo had a nice in the 6th, a couple running grabs over there. Nothing really jumped out defensively today that was like, wow, that was, there wasn't a lot of that. And that's a good thing, because maybe the pitching staff put the balls in the areas where it really wasn't like that. I think a lot of just the way the wind was blowing, it was just going to be one of those situations where we're just like, all right, everything's going to kind of go. and it did for the Railcats side of things. And that's always a positive. So when we look here at the Railcats batting, Gio Diaz went 2 for 5 with 2 runs. Basabe went 1 for 3, 1 run, 1 RBI, 1 walk, 1 strikeout. Quintana went 1 for 4, 1 walk, 1 strikeout. Carlos Rincon, RBI machine. Well, I guess not necessarily an RBI machine, because he was the hit machine today. He had 3 singles, scored 1 run, 3 runs, 5 at bats, 2 RBIs, 2 strikeouts. Castillo went 0 for 5 with 3 strikeouts. Valero went 1 for 4, 1 run, 1 walk, 2 strikeouts. Contreras he came in at the end, so he didn't bat. Backley went 0 for 2, 1 run, 2 walks, 1 strikeout. Marcos Gonzalez went 2 for 4, 2 runs, 3 RBIs with the 3-run home run. Or was it the 3-run home run? No, I think it was just I'm all screwed up again. And then Sierra at 1 for 4 with 3 RBIs and 2 strikeouts on that portion of it. Looking at the Railcats pitching staff, Sanabria went 4 and 2/3 innings, 4 hits, 3 runs, 2 earned, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts. Fidriago getting the win, went 1 and 2/3 inning, 2 strikeouts and gave up 2 hits. Andres Diaz went 2/3 innings, giving up 2 hits, 2 runs, both earned, and then 1 strikeout. Julio Pinto went 1 inning and gave up 1 hit. Yohan Valdez went 1 inning, 1 walk, and 1 strikeout. That there is the game. In total, the Railcats left 6 runners on base, having a total of 9 runs, 11 hits, 9 RBIs, 5 walks, and 12 strikeouts. The pitching staff gave up 5 runs, 9 hits, 5 RBIs, 3 walks, and 8 strikeouts. Anything really notable? Basabe got a double. He was also hit by a pitch. Mark Gonzalez and Sierra all homered. Basabe had 1 RBI. Rincon had 2. Gonzalez had 3. And Sierra also had 3 as well. Carlos Sanabria got an error on, I believe it was the Pruitt play at first. That was kind of like, I don't necessarily think that should have been an error, but I think that's just what we're going to get out of it. It was just going to be an error anyways. So I like to do this full rundown of the series. I try to, at least, depending on when at the end, just depending on what we're going with. So the Milwaukee series, Gio Diaz in total went 5 for 15. He got caught stealing once and had 2 runs, or scored 2 runs, I should say. Basabe went 2 for 13, 1 run, 1 RBI, 1 walk, 2 strikeouts, and an error. Guillermo Quintana went 3 for 13, scored 1 run, 1 walk, 2 strikeouts. Rincon went 4 for 13, 1 run, 4 Ks, 1 walk, 2 RBIs. LG Castillo went 2 for 13, 2 runs, 1 RBI, 1 walk, 5 Ks, and 1 error. Will Decker only played in 1 game, so in total, he was 0 for 1 with 1 strikeout. Marco Gonzalez went 4 for 12, 3 RBIs, 1 home run, 2 runs scored, 1 strikeout. Miguel Sierra went 2 for 9, 4 RBIs, 1 home run, 1 walk, and 3 strikeouts. Andres Noriega did not play, so I don't have anything for him. Jackson Valera, 2 for 9, 2 runs, 4 walks, 1 hit by pitch, 2 Ks. Jacob Bockley went 1 for 5, 1 run, 2 walks, 1 strikeout. Jose Contreras only played in 1 game, or batted in 1 game. He went 0 for 4. So yeah, that was basically what happened with the RAILCATS. The Milwaukee Milkmen win the series 2-1 on that aspect of it. Looking at the Lake Country Dockhounds, who the RAILCATS will play next, they have a record of 3-3. They got swept by Sioux Falls, and they swept the Chicago Dogs, which I really thought the Dogs were going to win and take that game 3, and Lake Country came back and won. So I don't know what to make of Lake Country, because they lost to a really good Sioux Falls team, and they beat, I thought, a really good Chicago Dogs team. So it's going to be interesting. Looking at their stats, there's 3 guys that are batting in the 300s. Levy, Irschurz, and Taberry. I know Josh Altman got a home run, 2 home runs today, so I know that, or not today, but I know that they got a home run. So like Milwaukee or Dockhounds, I just don't know yet. I don't know, and not to say I have to take off the I'm rooting for this team lens and put on the realistic lens of the RAILCATS. Like, yes, you have this game, and they did really well offensively, and the pitching here and there, however you want to put it. I don't want to say this could be a turning point for the RAILCATS. I think everything's starting to kind of click, and this is what you want, is them to click, and that's what we got. But I don't know. I don't know yet. We're going to have to see some consistency, and I think that's the biggest issue with the lineup in years past, is the consistency. This was one game where if the game was probably a little bit closer, I don't think the RAILCATS would have pulled this one out if it wasn't for the offense going on its run of what it did. But I don't know if you have such a big lead that sometimes the pitching can take a back seat. But I guess in my mind, if you have that huge lead, like, you can make a couple mistakes, but like, you still want to be dialed in. But yet again, when we look at the pitchers that pitched that gave up runs, I mean, Sanabria gave up 3 runs on but he only was the 2, and then Diaz giving up the other 2, but that was his first runs he's given up all year. So like, I don't know necessarily, like, you tack that if you're gonna have a game where you're gonna give up 2 runs in 2/3 inning, like, this would have been the game to do it in. So I'm not like that concerned on that front of it. I'm happy to see the consistency as far as the batting, because I believe Gio Diaz extends his hitting streak. Gonzalez and then Sierra, I think, extended their hitting streak. Let me see here real quick. I didn't write those. Gio and Marcos are the only ones. So Gio's on a 4-game hitting streak, and Gonzalez is on a 5-game hitting streak. So like, those are only 2. Now there's probably 2 people that have like a 2-game hitting streak that's going to go lead into a third potentially. But I'm not going to say that until it's a third, because like, you hit back-to-back games. Good for you. When you hit 3, that's where we kind of start getting into the actual hit streak portion of it, on that front of it. So overall, good win, great win. I think we'll see Chris Irwin for opening day tomorrow, at the home opener tomorrow. I don't know who we're going to see from the Dockhounds. That could change on a daily basis. just depending on whoever you want to put it on. So I think to end, if this was like another tight, close knitted game, to like say if it was another like 3-2 game and the Railcats end up winning, like I would say, okay, awesome, the pitching staff's doing its job, but I'm afraid the offense isn't going to be there. Because when I was looking at earlier today, I was looking at like statistics and everything like that, and like the overall team statistics, and the batting, or I should say, the pitching portion of it is like middle tier, right? And the runs given up is in the middle-ish tier of what we're kind of looking at. But the hitting, it was way down there, and not the worst. Like Cleveland's the worst. Like the batting average wise was the worst, but they had more home runs, and today we saw the 2 home runs, and that kind of spikes what we're looking for. It's just one of those situations where I don't like. I feel better, right? You feel better after finally getting off to Schneid and winning a game. You feel better about that portion of it. I feel even better about how many runs they put up, because they hit 11 times and scored 9 runs. I know a couple of them were walks, but I'm just saying that feels better to me than if it was like a 3-2 game where the Railcats did win 3-2 and the offense just wasn't succeeding to the aspect that we want it to, if that makes quite sense. So that kind of wraps up the series in whole. Milwaukee wins 2-1 of the full series. The Railcats win the final game. We're going to see Milwaukee in the next two games, but there's a couple things I want to get to real quick. This is just a complaint that I think that the American Association needs to look at and really needs to figure out, because it is it's quite a bit of annoyance. If you watch the broadcast on American or AATV, and now I just don't know if this is me, but this is the Milwaukee broadcast by far. Now, granted, we've only been in 2 series, but by far the worst broadcast. All right, the commercials are either really quiet or really loud. The transition period was terrible. I couldn't hear him half the time. I didn't know what was going on. I knew what was going on because I was obviously watching it, but I was just confused. There was do they not have enough internet for the Railcats broadcast? Like, I want to hear Andrew Mild. Like, I want to hear him and what he's got going on. I want to see, even if you can't do a stream portion of it, like at least have a Mixler, like so that way I could at least pop in a headphone and listen to it. That would be nice. But we didn't get that. I think in game 1, luckily that it was a school day game and I was at work, and I don't know what half the game was cut out. I don't know what I don't know on the portion of that, like. I don't care about the broadcaster, if they're good or bad, the greatest. I care about, am I going to be able to listen to the game, see the game, and not have my ears bleed? Like, that's all I'm asking for. Like, I don't know what it was, like when the broadcaster was doing his business, saying things, and there was excitement. It starts getting louder and louder, and the volume kept getting louder and louder. I'm like, whoa, why? Why is it getting? It should just be the same. I don't understand some of that portion of it. I wish that would change a little bit. Like, that if you're trying to make your product the same across the board, you need to be hammering away at these teams to make sure that they're getting what we need to a certain extent. Like internet, I get that you're in some areas it's harder to get, but it shouldn't be that. I mean, if Milwaukee's supposed to be one of the top tier teams in the league, like I should be expecting a top tier broadcast to a certain extent. I think there was one more thing I was going to talk about, but I think I forgot what it was already. Yeah, I don't remember. So opening day, home opener tomorrow. Saturday, I have to work, so I'm closing, and I won't be able to watch the game. And then on Sunday, my niece has a t-ball game, and I promised her that I would be at it. So I will only be able to watch one game, and that's going to be tomorrow. I'll probably have another live stream after it and call that what it is at that portion of it. So yeah, the Railcats win 9-5. Finally get off the losing streak onto a winning streak, or hopefully get into a winning streak. If we win tomorrow, then we're in a little bit of a winning streak. Get back into it. I guess we can kind of look at the standings real quick. At this portion of it, Kane County's on top, 4-2. Cleburne's 4-3. Milwaukee Milkmen 3-3. Lake Country Dockhounds 3-3. Chicago Dogs 3-3. Gary South Shore 1-5. Kansas City on the west side 4-2. Sioux City's 4-2. Fargo Moorhead Redhawks 3-2. Salt Dogs are 4-3. They have a lower winning percentage. That's why they're there. Sioux City Explorers 2-4, and Winnipeg Gold Eyes 2-5 on that portion of it. And then finals from today, if I can get to the scoreboard correctly. Lake Country wins against the Chicago Dogs 10-9. Gary 9-5. Sioux Falls over Kane County Cougars 10-6. Kansas City Monarchs over Winnipeg 6-1, and Lincoln Salt Dogs 6-1 over the Cleburne Railroaders. That's going to wrap it up for me. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, rest of your evening, whenever you're going to watch this, and